It was October 19th around 6:20 p.m. at the Albertsons on Westwood Boulevard. I remember that because I'd circled the chicken thighs on sale in their weekly flyer, $2.99 a pound if you had the card. I didn't. I pulled out my wallet and started laying down crumpled tens, a few fives, some quarters. The cashier glanced at me, then scanned the last item. My daughter-in-law, standing behind me, fidgeted with her phone like she wasn't there. Then I heard it. Sharp, loud, familiar. "Where's your VIP card?" my brother snapped from behind. "Why pay cash?" I blinked. The cashier paused. My daughter-in-law's head shot up, then dropped just as quickly. Her hand froze mid-scroll. She went pale like someone had spilled bleach on her. I said nothing, just nodded at the cashier. "Cash is fine," I muttered. My voice cracked a little. It wasn't the question that hurt. It was the fact I didn't have an answer. I had one. Or I should have. The bank confirmed months ago a card was issued in my name. But I'd never seen it. Back in the car, she offered to drive. I didn't say yes or no, just sat down, buckled in, stared at the dashboard like it owed me something. I remembered a time I signed a form for utilities. That was July. Maybe I should have read it. Maybe I should have asked more questions when the groceries started coming from Whole Foods, but I was too busy being grateful someone else was cooking. "You know how family works, right?" she said once when I asked about rent. "Everyone contributes. It's just natural." Really? If it's so natural, why am I the only one checking my balance before buying potatoes? Later that night, I told Lisa, my old co-worker from the clinic. She shook her head and said, "If you gotta pay to feel like family, it's not family. It's a subscription." I didn't laugh. I just folded the receipt and put it in the drawer with the others. I hated how small I felt that night. Not because of the money, but because I let it get this far. I should have seen the signs sooner. I didn't speak in the car. But once home, I opened my banking app, and then I opened my laptop. It was 8:47 p.m. on October 20th when I opened the old Canon printer in the hallway closet. Still dusty. I printed every bank statement since July one by one. Paper jammed twice. I didn't curse, just cleared it and kept going. I spread them out across the kitchen table next to my cold cup of Folgers and the half-sliced apple I never finished. There it was, July 14th. A card activation entry, $10,000 limit card issued under my name. Delivery confirmed, my address, my signature on file. The line above it said, "Co-signed authorization." I remembered that day. She'd asked me to sign just so the bills stay in your name for the utilities, Mom. I didn't even put on my reading glasses. My chest got hot, not angry hot, the kind where your stomach sinks and your neck stiffens. I opened the PDF attachment from the bank. My handwriting. My own slanted M in the middle of a page I hadn't even read. So that's what family means now. You can ask for trust, but not offer the same back. Later, I showed the printed statement to Marianne, my neighbor across the street. We used to do early morning walks before her hip surgery. She squinted at the paper and said, "They used your name, your credit, and your silence. That's a hell of a combo." I didn't laugh. I just folded the paper. Quiet. I wanted to blame them. But deep down, I was mad at myself for calling it help, when really it was habit. I should have set boundaries long ago. I let guilt decide for me. Guilt and fear of losing what little connection I still had with my grandson. And here's the question I kept circling back to. If you can afford 3 vacations this year, why do you still need my credit history? I didn't confront her that night. I wanted to see if she'd say anything first. She didn't. She asked if I wanted tea. I said no. I just kept looking at that signature. And the next morning, I cooked breakfast like usual, but I slid the signed form into my purse. October 21st, 6th, 10 p.m. I made dinner on purpose. Not leftovers, real cooking. salmon fillets from Trader Joe's asparagus with garlic and jasmine rice. I set the table early and lit the small vanilla candle she liked from Bath & Body Works. I wanted to see her, watch her, maybe catch something in her face. She came into the kitchen wearing her usual pink hoodie, scrolling her phone. Smells fancy, she said. Then she opened the fridge. Too bad we don't have one of those reward cards for grocery points, huh? I froze, fork in hand. Not because of what she said, but how she said it. Light, playful, as if we were two friends sharing a joke. I turned and looked at her straight in the eye. She didn't flinch. No blink. No awkward pause. She met my eyes, smiled, and sat down. That scared me more than the card itself. If you can look someone dead in the face and lie like that, what else are you capable of? I didn't say anything. I ate. Bit my tongue so hard I tasted metal. After dinner, I texted Janice, my cousin in Riverside. She's a teller at Chase Bank. I sent her a photo of the card summary, blacked out the last 4 digits. She wrote back, "Ma'am, if she's that casual lying, you're not the only one she's done it to." Then another line. "Freeze it." Quietly. I stared at her message. I wanted to believe it was just a one-time thing, that she panicked, that she meant to tell me. But let's be honest, I saw the Whole Foods receipts. I saw the new Apple Watch she gave my son from the kids. I knew. I just didn't want to believe it. You ever wonder if it's really all shared? Then why do only some people get to decide I washed the dishes slow that night? And after she went to bed, I took out the receipts I'd been saving under the placemats. One by one, I sorted them into an envelope. The next morning, I called the bank and asked for a reissue. And that was the first time I said my own name out loud in months. October 25th, 3:42 p.m. The new card was supposed to arrive that week. I was home when the mail truck came, a white Ford Transit with the usual driver, Calvin. I waited 10 minutes, then asked my son to check the mailbox. He was standing near the kitchen counter peeling a banana. He didn't even look up. "It's just junk," he said too quickly. Then he added, "Nothing with your name today." I let it slide. Didn't push. But something about the way he tossed the peel into the trash made me pause. 2 days later, while grabbing dryer sheets in the laundry room, I noticed a red shoebox tucked behind the detergent bin. It used to hold baby photos. I opened it. Inside, an envelope from Chase Bank. Already opened. My name was on it clear as day. That's when I knew they hadn't just guessed the card was coming. They had watched for it, opened it, hid it. And here's what really made my stomach turn: she hadn't even activated it through the phone. She'd used it online. Digital wallet mobile login. She knew my info, or knew how to reset it. I logged in that night. Quietly. Read every transaction. Uber Eats, Amazon, Nordstrom, a rental car in Fresno. Over $600 to $200 since July. None of it flagged, because technically it was my account. Janice, my cousin from Riverside, said one line that stuck with me. They didn't steal it. They installed it. Like a feature. I couldn't argue. She was right. And I hated how part of me still wanted to believe they meant well. That maybe it started with something small, an emergency, maybe, but snowballed. That's the lie I told myself to sleep. But the truth? They hid it. On purpose. Tell me this. If I was such a burden, why use my name to carry your lifestyle? I didn't cancel the card. Not yet. I kept logging in every night. Reading each charge, every tip, left every little lie that now had a timestamp. And the more I read, the clearer something else became. This wasn't just about money. October 28th, 5:42 p.m. The doorbell rang. DoorDash again. I watched from the kitchen window as my daughter-in-law grabbed the bag white with the pink sugarfish logo and called out, "Dinner's here." I was still picking at the cold rotisserie chicken from Tuesday. Drumstick, dry skin peeling off. I'd planned to make soup with it. They didn't ask if I wanted any, just shut the door and laughed about spicy mayo and chopsticks. Later that night, I sat down with the full bank log. I'd printed it at Office Depot, cost me $2.80. Not one grocery run in 2 months. Just handbags, meal kits, hotel rooms, and a $428 flight upgrade to Chicago on October 3rd. Business class. Meanwhile, I'd clipped coupons for eggs and waited until Sunday to fill up my car, 2011 Subaru Outback, because Chevron runs 20 cents off after 6 p.m. I called Janice. She asked want me to help freeze the card. I said no. She paused. Then what are you waiting for? That hit. Because I didn't know. Maybe I was still hoping it was a mistake. Or maybe I was scared. Scared that if I drew a line, I'd lose the little I had left. The dinners, the holidays, my grandson's tiny arms around my neck. But tell me, if it's really family, then why does it always start with a demand? Why wasn't I asked? Why was I used? And if they're so independent, why is my name on the flight upgrade? I wasn't angry that night. I felt small, stupid, like I'd ignored every sign, every little shrug, every skipped thank you, all for what? To keep the peace. The next morning, I took out the receipts again, sorted them by category, labeled each one. Grocery 0. Fashion 7. Then I stapled the log. Quiet, just in case. And as I closed the folder, I noticed something I hadn't seen before. One line buried in the middle. A charge I didn't recognize. From a camera store. November 2nd, 9th, 18 a.m. I was folding towels when she knocked. She never knocks. Usually just walks in barefoot, phone in hand. But that morning, it was a knock. Light. Almost polite. Mom? She said, not looking me in the eye, could you cover rent this month? We're behind. Just this once. I nodded. Slowly, wiped my hands and walked to the drawer next to the fridge. I pulled out a folded paper, laid it flat on the table. A Chase receipt dated October 1st, $2,400 fee, paid to their landlord. My name at the top. Thought this was already paid, I said with my card. She froze. He looked down at his socks like they had answers. The room went so quiet I could hear the fridge hum. Wait, how'd you get that? She mumbled. I didn't reply. I just slid the receipt an inch closer to her. She didn't say thank you, didn't apologize, just stood there stiff. Here's what gets me: if you're family, if we're all in this together, then why lie? Why not say we messed up, Mom? We used your card. Why pretend? Later that day, I called Monica, my old coworker from the clinic. She does admin now for a housing nonprofit. I asked, you still got that contact at Barton Title? She said, yup. Why you finally getting that lake place in Oregon? I laughed. Something like that. Truth, I wasn't planning a move. I was looking for leverage. Something they didn't know I still had. And still, after all that, I sat in my room and cried. Quiet like a stupid habit? Because I hated how part of me still wanted them to come back. Just knock on the door, sit down, and say something real. Even if it hurt. I didn't tell them I'd made a call. I didn't even mention the receipt again. But that night, I printed the title deed from the safe. And in the morning, I drove to the notary office on 3rd and Lincoln, November 4th, 10:15 a.m. I met with Mrs. Keller in a small office above a bakery off Chestnut Street. She wore flats, not heels, and pulled her hair into a low bun, like always. She poured me a cup of coffee, didn't even ask how I took it, just remembered. I had a folder with me. Receipts. Printouts. A timeline I'd written by hand, double-spaced. She glanced through it and said, let's make copies. I kept waiting for her to ask, do you want to press charges? But she didn't. She just said, you're not here to fight them. You're here to protect yourself. That line hit harder than I thought it would. I'd been bracing for a war, but part of me just wanted peace and control. We went line by line. Her assistant Jordan joined halfway through and said, "This stuff's solid. Honestly, you could have walked in with less and still made a case." I smiled, but inside I felt stupid, like I'd let it go on too long just to keep the family intact. I asked if he's the one paying. "Why's it still under my name?" She nodded. "Because your credit score is higher. Your name carries the trust, and legally, they don't own a thing." Yet, that yet stuck in my chest. Back home, I sat at the edge of my bed. I looked at the frame on my nightstand, one with all of us from 2 Christmases ago. My grandson in my lap, ribbon on his head. I hadn't seen him in 3 weeks. I hated that part. Hated that doing the right thing felt like risking that little boy's smile. But I also hated myself for letting guilt override facts for this long. And no, none of them knew I'd met with a lawyer. Not yet. Because sometimes the best move isn't shouting, it's documenting, copying, naming the folder right. Mrs. Keller slid the last paper into a red envelope, handed it back to me, and said, "You let me know when you're ready to use this." I picked Tuesday, November 7th. Olive Garden off Route 9-6, Oiro PM. My treat. No kids, no outside family. Just us 3 at a booth near the window. I even let them pick the appetizers. They went with the sampler, $18.99. I barely touched mine. I eased into the questions like I was just trying to plan ahead. "What's your budget been like lately?" I asked. "With groceries, bills, the usual." She answered too quickly. "We've been careful, stretching every dollar, skipping extras." That's when he added, "Honestly, Mom, we've only been using our cards, not yours." I gave it 2 beats, just nodded, let them talk. Then she slipped. She sipped her iced tea and said, "You've always been generous with your card. Remember the spa last month?" I looked at her. No blinking. Just enough pause to make her glance away. That was the moment I clicked the recorder in my coat pocket. I kept it running until the check came. $63.45. I paid in cash. Later that night, 9 to 14 p.m., I uploaded the file and sent it straight to Mrs. Keller. Subject line: verbal confirmation. Nov 7. You know what still stings? Not the lie, the way she said it. Like I'd offered. Like this was normal. As if my name on a financial tool was some shared family heirloom they could pass around. If it's really your budget, I wanted to ask, why'd the spa charge land on my account? Lisa, my coworker, called the next morning. She doesn't know the full story, but she's seen enough. I told her I had dinner with my son and his wife. She said, "You okay?" I said I'm done being polite. She just replied, "Good." I sat with that longer than I should have. Realized I'd been afraid they'd cut me out of my grandson's life. And I hated how much that still mattered to me. I didn't delete the recording. I saved it twice. And renamed it Proof Thorozoa 1. November 14th, 10:30 a.m., Fifth Third Bank Branch off Maple Street. I parked beside a silver Toyota Highlander with a cracked backlight. Recognized it immediately, my son's. I sat in my car for a minute longer than I needed to. Just breathing. Inside, they were already seated. My son on the left. My daughter-in-law on the right. She wore sunglasses indoors. I didn't say hello. Just nodded to Mrs. Keller, who slid the folder across the table. Printed logs, highlighted charges, a time-stamped transcript of the dinner audio. Proof 01. The branch manager, marked something I forgot his last name, asked calmly, "Can you confirm this card was used with your knowledge, ma'am?" She didn't answer. She cried. My son stayed quiet. Not a word. Not even to defend her. I didn't gloat. I didn't raise my voice. I just looked at him and said, "If you could afford all that, why did you need my name to get the card?" Still no answer. Mrs. Keller added, flat, "There's been no formal fraud report yet, but we recommend steps for separation of accounts immediately." They left 10 minutes later. She wiped her eyes. He helped her up. Still no apology. Mark looked at me and said, "Would you like to close this card now or issue a new one?" "I'll open a new account," I said. "In my name only." He nodded and printed the forms. I signed them slowly. Right hand shaking just a little, I noticed it, but didn't stop. Lisa texted me after. Just a line. "How'd it go?" I replied. Clean cut. Truth, I felt hollow. Not because they left mad, but because part of me hoped even now that my son would have looked at me and said, "Mom, I didn't know." But he knew, or he didn't want to know. And I had ignored all the signs for too long. I walked out holding the envelope with my new account documents. The sun was too bright for a cold morning. I sat in the car and stared straight ahead. Then I opened the Notes app on my phone and typed one sentence. January 9th, 17 p.m. Safeway on Willow. Cold air, bright lights, my own cart for once. I parked near the pharmacy side and walked in with a reusable bag and a real card. With my name, my account. No shared logins, no silent watchers. The list was short. Milk eggs, rice, peanut butter. No extras. But when I passed the coffee aisle, I slowed down. There it was. Colombian roast, the medium bold one he always picked. $8.49 on sale. My hand reached for it, paused, then set it back on the shelf. That was before. This was after. I checked out at self-pay. No glances, no questions. I swiped the card, watched the screen blink approved, and carried the bag out myself. No one asked why I paid cash. No one joked about points. Just quiet. I sat in my car and let that silence stretch. Earlier that morning, Lisa had said, "So, you going no contact?" Now, I shrugged. "I'm going low access." "Smart," she replied. "You can love people and still lock the door." But I didn't feel smart. I felt small. I kept thinking, how many times did I let this slide? How many red flags did I fold into napkins and stuff into drawers? And how did I let them make me feel guilty for protecting what I earned? If it was really family, wouldn't they have asked before signing me up for debt? Wouldn't they have thanked me before maxing out the limit? Instead, they called it help, then used it like it was owed. I'm not looking for revenge. But I did keep something. Not the card, not the groceries, not even the receipt. I kept the login info, the documents the file Mrs. Keller notarized, and the name of the realtor printed on a folded flyer I found under their toaster tray.